Good afternoon, everybody. Well, afternoon for me. Welcome to Devmentor Dave live stream on an afternoon, a little bit different. Something that we're going to be starting up here, hopefully, if I can get some consistency on here. But we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But if you're watching live, jump on the chat, say hello. If this is your first time watching live, let me know where you're watching from. And if this is not your first time, say hello, because I've probably already talked to you before on our Saturday live streams. Excuse me. So thank you for joining me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, all that fun stuff. You know, everybody tells you what to do. You just do it. Make us happy. I'm just kidding. Anyway, if you're watching live, say hello. I'd love to talk to you on this live stream. And obviously, if you are not aware of the Devmentor Dave Discord server, jump on the link that is in the bottom of the description and interact with us there. Hey man, good to see you. It says your name, so that works. Just on your tablet. What is it, 10 o'clock your time? Something like that? Hopefully this time works for you. I don't know. It's kind of late though. So, we won't spend a lot of time probably on here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Today, but I've been trying to figure out some ways that we can easily get some more opportunities for us to engage with one another, give us that don't necessarily have to be around a specific project. Not looking to get rid of the Saturday live streams. We're still going to do that. In fact, we're still going to do that project that we were talking about a couple Saturdays ago. So that'll be coming up here at the end of the week on Saturday. Oh, nice. Just got back from Taekwondo. Cool. I never got into any martial arts. So I do know several people who have, and some of them Taekwondo specifically, but I should have probably gotten into something like that. I'd be a little bit more flexible than I am now. Oh, wow. 4 interviews this week. That's awesome. Good luck, man. That's great. But yeah, so I'm going to, hopefully be jumping on here at 4 p.m. every weekday. So we're calling the new series Weekday Recap or Roundup. Weekday Roundup. Let me know what you think. Weekday Roundup or Weekday Recap. Or if you have another suggestion, let me know. The idea is that we're gonna jump on a live stream at the end of the workday and talk about things, either something that you guys dealt with during your workday, or something that I dealt with during my workday, or it might be something that that maybe I saw on LinkedIn or an article. It's gonna be, all kinds of random things, but it's just another opportunity for, recap. Yeah, I think actually that might have been what I originally thought of. Weekday recap. I don't know. Maybe. Throw suggestions in there in the chat, or if you're not in the chat, if you're watching this later, put some suggestions in the comment section and let me know if you have a better name instead of Weekday Roundup, if you've got a better name for this. So again, it's just an opportunity for us to talk through things either that happened during the day, or issues that we came up with, or maybe something that I saw on LinkedIn, maybe something you saw on LinkedIn and want to send it to me. That's what this is for. It's really just another opportunity for us to jump on. The goal is to try to keep this fairly short, though. I want to try to keep this probably about 30 minutes or less. So if nobody's on here, it'll probably be about 5 minutes. If people are on here, it'll probably end up being closer to 30 minutes if people are jumping in the chat and saying hello and asking questions. So again, this is just, I'm trying to find some ways to get some more consistency, to be able to be more available for you guys here on the live stream without having to go through the process of trying to make videos. Not that videos are wrong. They're just very time consuming. And for me, in my current era of life, it's just difficult to find the time to do that. So I thought it would be great to have something where we jump on for half an hour at the end of the workday and see how everybody's doing. See if anybody ran into something that they have questions about, or have any issues, want to know how to deal with them, or just things that happen in my life today. Mondays are always going to be a day where I'll probably complain about all the meetings that I had. Meetings are the development success killer. Unfortunately, you have to have meetings at some point for a lot of things that we do, but unfortunately, they take up a lot of time, and sometimes you're in meetings that you need to be in, and sometimes you're in meetings that you don't need to be in. And sometimes you're in meetings that you need to be in, but they don't necessarily need to be as long as they are. So that's something to watch out for on your developer journey is try not to get pulled into too many meetings. Now, my current role, I don't spend as much time developing anymore. I'm doing more leadership side of things, so that makes more sense that I get pulled into meetings. But unfortunately, a lot of times some of our leads get pulled into extra meetings that they just aren't really necessary. So I'm probably not going to have massive topics to talk about. Again, we're going to try to keep these to about 30 minutes or less most days. So I'm not really looking to get too deep in things. We can do that on a Saturday live stream because we're still going to keep the Saturday live streams. But this is more just to kind of hang out, see if you guys have any questions from the day or something. Like today is Monday, so maybe over the weekend, and just give opportunity, hopefully at another time that might have some more flexibility and availability for some other people who may not be able to make it to like our Saturday live streams and things like that. So I see a couple more people jumping in here. Celestino, good to see you. And Dan, good to see you. What is this? Is it like meditation? You can see my bald head there while I try to look. Actually, oh stink. I need to go see. I need to check the mail because I think I was supposed to get my new glasses today, either today or tomorrow. I got the progressive lenses. I don't know if anybody else on here has the progressive lenses, but this will be the first time that hopefully I won't have to keep doing this all the time to read what you guys are typing or make it like super big. Can I make it big? I didn't think about that. I'm an idiot sometimes. Oh, I can make it big. Duh, that was dumb. I could have saved myself so much trouble if I'd have just made the text bigger. Oh well. Now I can really see what you guys are writing. How's that for dumb? Yeah, Dave the developer can't figure out how to increase the size of the text on his screen while he's doing a live stream. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh well. Let's see. So yeah, congrats to Ming on getting several interviews lined up. So yeah, I'm officially a grandpa. Thanks a lot, Ming. Thankfully not yet. Although I am actually looking forward. Oddly enough, I am looking forward to being a grandfather. But nobody in my household should be having any children anytime soon. Hopefully. But yeah, so yeah, I am steadily progressing towards grandfatherhood, at least in my eyes, if nothing else. That was an interesting question. How do I deal with annoying devs that don't communicate well? Um, I mean, at the end of the day, communication is a soft skill that a lot of devs don't have. Now, I do feel like devs are getting better at communication overall because I think development itself has become much easier to get into for people who maybe are not the stereotypical developers of yesteryear, where they're mostly like mathematicians and scientists and things like that. Um, the real nerds of the nerds. We're nerds, but we're not that nerdy, right? So I think some of them were a lot harder to communicate than a lot of developers today. So I do think the developer communication has stepped it up a lot more recently. But you are still going to run into developers who don't communicate very well. I think, to me, the key is understand that it may not be them trying to not communicate. They just may be bad at it. Now, there might be some who are just being jerks and they're not willing to jump on a communication bandwagon that makes sense, right? So they're just like they choose to use nomenclature that's um, outside of the realm of most people's vocabulary, things like that. You're going to run into people like that. That's just a reality of dealing with people. But I think most developers don't realize they're not communicating well, and so really the best way to handle that is you just ask questions. Because either you'll annoy them, and they'll ignore you, and then you deal with that issue, or they'll understand that you're not getting it. And I know sometimes that makes you feel like you look bad, and to them, you may look bad. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't necessarily fully um, change how someone perceives you. Again, going back to kind of like my WordPress world, just because people knew that I was a WordPress developer, they assumed that I didn't know what I was doing, right? But what they didn't know is that I was developing, like doing real development inside the WordPress framework. And so you can't always change how people think about you. Um, so it's better to me. It's better to err on the side of somebody thinking I'm stupid in order to get the information, the communication that I need, than to try to look good. See, I think this is an area where junior devs kind of shoot themselves in the foot a lot of time, and that is trying to not look bad, and so they end up spending time spinning their wheels in areas that they probably shouldn't spin their wheels, right? If you find yourself spinning your wheels on something and the person sitting next to you has the answer, it may annoy them, but ask the question. To me, I would rather a junior developer ask me 50 different questions than the same question 10 times. Right? So if you come to me and every time you come to me, you're asking me a different question, that tells me that you are learning and you're finding more things that you don't know. Right? And again, not everybody's going to have this perspective, and I don't know if you're talking about a senior dev or what, but not everybody's going to have this perspective because they're not as good as I am. No, I'm just kidding. It's just not everybody has the same goal in their interactions with each other, right? So obviously, my goal would be to hopefully help you help yourself. So if you're coming to me, I would want to hear new questions rather than hearing the same one over and over again. Now, if they're just not giving you an answer that makes sense, then try to rephrase the question. Ask it from a different angle. Try to help them understand the piece that you're not getting. So tell them, okay, I get this and I get this and I get this, but I'm not understanding how this works or what this means or whatever the crux of your issue is. Try to help them see what you do understand and what you don't understand to help them help you in giving you information that's going to be beneficial for you to move forward. Because again, I don't think most devs communicate poorly on purpose. They communicate poorly because they assume that you understand, and they assume that you have some level of history or knowledge that, however they're describing something or however they're explaining something, should make sense to you. And so you need to be clear on what parts you understand, what parts you don't understand. And I think that will help in your communication if the developer just isn't being a jerk, which sometimes they are. So anyway, we have a few more people that are watching here. If you're watching, jump in the chat, say hello. And if you have a question, put your question in the chat. Do type at DevMentorDave. That'll just make it easier for me to see it if you're throwing a question in the chat. For those who have joined, maybe so you don't have to go back and rewatch things, basically what's going on here is we're going to jump on most work days, so Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Central United States time. That's my time. I'll make everybody else do the math. So 4 p.m. my time, which is basically the end of my work day most of the time. And I've got it blocked off, so hopefully, unless something crazy happens, or unless I'm out for the day for some reason, I'll try to make sure I let everyone know on the YouTube channel. But the goal is to just have a little bit more consistency. I don't really have the time to be doing a bunch of videos to help answer questions and things like that. So hopefully this will help a lot to give you guys some more opportunities to interact with me. And hopefully, I'm not completely altruistic. Hopefully help the channel a little bit by getting us some content. So the goal is to be on here for about 30 minutes or less, depending on how many people are on here and interacting, how many questions we have. Probably try to cut it off pretty consistently at 4:30, just so we don't have massively long live streams, so people maybe find it a little bit more convenient to watch again later. I will have, most days I will have a topic either from my own Workday, something that came up that I want to talk about, or maybe something I saw on LinkedIn, something that you guys sent me through the Discord server or something like that, or just questions that pop up as we go along the way. So I will have usually some sort of topic that I'll be prepared to discuss, unless you guys have a lot of questions you want to ask. Which is perfectly fine for me as well. And I do apologize. I don't know if my voice is scratchy or anything to you guys, but I am fighting a little bit of a cold. I was actually out all last week speaking at a youth camp, and so we were in and out of the hot days and the in the air conditioning. I think it finally got to me at the end of the week, so my throat's a little bit scratchy, and hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. Or I don't know how good I normally sound, so maybe it sounds better. I don't know. We'll see. Do I think 4 interviews is a lot? No. I think you take as many interviews as you can possibly get, especially when you're looking for a job, because every interview is an opportunity for you to learn what works well for you. You get better at explaining things about yourself the more you do it. Mock interviews are great, but you know that they're a mock interview, so you can often begin to not really give it the level of work that is necessary. Whereas if you're going through multiple real interviews, you have the nerves, you have the desire to get the position. I mean, there's so many other aspects around interviewing in a real interview that I would take as many as you can get until you get a job. Then obviously you don't want to waste your time on interviews, hopefully. But yeah, I would take as many as you can get, me. I think they're only going to help you in your process of putting yourself out there, of explaining yourself. They're only going to help you in your process of learning how to evaluate other companies and interviewers and things like that. So I would say take as many as you can fit in realistically, because it's only going to help you in the long run. Plus, it'll give you opportunities, even again to provide feedback to recruiters. It'll give you opportunity to be a mentor to others in this process. Know what they're going to have to go through during that process. It's been a long time since I was interviewed as a junior developer, so there's probably a lot of things that I don't think about when I think about interviewing junior developers that you guys are going through, or just things that have changed since when I went through them, that, having that more recent experience can be really, really helpful to other junior developers too. So Dan says, "'Tis the season for middle schoolers running amok in the woods." Yep, pretty much. Running around like crazy people, and counselors and stuff yelling at them, trying to keep them in line. So that was fun. It was a good week though. I did enjoy it. Ming says, "The interview today from the JD expects a junior to be competent in CI/CD pipelines." I don't know that I would have a junior developer necessarily being worried about my CI/CD pipeline. I mean, understanding the basics of it, sure. Like, what happens? Well, I push code, it goes and it runs tests, or goes through a build process maybe. It just depends. I don't know. Like that, to me, that's a senior level, lead level architectural design that a junior developer shouldn't have to even think about. The only thing a junior developer should have to worry about is, are they following the procedures that are in place by the company? And if those procedures include things like, hey, your test didn't pass on the pipeline, understanding how to read that and go back and fix it, right? Like you should have some understanding of whatever the tool is that they're using, whether it's Jira or not Jira, GitHub or Bitbucket or something like that. Like you should probably know generally how that stuff works, but like expecting you to set up a pipeline, that should not be something that you should have to do as a junior developer, in my opinion. I think you certainly can learn it and it could be valuable, but I want my junior developers to be focusing on learning how to write code, learning how to write good code, and learning how to recognize bad code or bad processes. Um, More than I'm worried about them understanding our architecture right away. Now, over time, great. That'd be awesome if they wanted to learn the architecture. They end up maybe DevOps is something that they really find intriguing and end up moving into that. That's great. But I definitely don't think that it should be expected for you to be able to like set up a pipeline or explain all the steps of the pipeline. That seems excessive to me. You should just be able to follow whatever the results are of the pipeline and understand, hey, it passed or it didn't pass. Here's why it didn't pass, so you could go back and fix it if it's something in your pull request that you can do. Dan says he reported the request to be a camp parent helper like a pro. Well done, sir. Well done. uh, yeah, that's some people do really well with that, and so the rest of us not so much. mm, that's kind of cool. This is not an endorsement. They just have a green label, so it's taking it out. Anyway, it's caught my eye. That's funny. So I don't know if that helps. That seems weird, Ming, to me, that somebody would expect that. But honestly, nowadays I think people just throw out expectations with the assumption that if they expect it, it's kind of like the field of dreams. If they build it, they will come, right? If you build it, he will come. If they require it, they'll find somebody, some unicorn junior dev out there that has all these things that they've done before. It just doesn't make sense to me. Using Git, absolutely. You should know how to push code to a Git repository, pull down from the Git repository, but knowing how to set up a CI/CD pipeline, is it the most complicated thing? No. But again, to me, it's less about knowledge and more about responsibility, right? So should my junior developer be responsible for setting up and maintaining a CI/CD pipeline? In my opinion, no. So if they're not responsible for that, then, and they shouldn't be responsible for that, then why in the world would I worry about whether or not they know how to do that? I would rather they not know and teach them how we do it than have them come in with some process that they think is best or that they got off of some, Medium article somewhere. I'd rather teach them the way that I want them to do it, the way that our process works, rather than them have to relearn everything because they learned it based off of some other process. So yeah, I just think it just doesn't make sense. Would CI/CD pipeline benefit more from larger scale projects? I mean, part of it depends on your philosophy of your project management. So obviously it would benefit more from larger scale projects, especially if you have more developers. I think a CI/CD pipeline is more crucial for more developers than it is for necessary size of project. So you can have a massive project but only have one developer. You don't need a CI/CD pipeline necessarily. The other reason for a CI/CD pipeline is if you're not doing a lot of you don't have processes in place where everybody's required to do like Git hooks that run a lot of the same processes locally. So you might want to do that just as a backup. Even if you are just one dev, you could set it up as a backup. to ensure that it has the exact same environment. Whatever like Docker instance you're using for it has the same environment as your production, so you can validate everything, builds and tests and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily bad to do for a smaller project or for a project with one or two developers. But in my opinion, it's most valuable when you're doing it for something that has multiple developers who are pushing in potentially multiple features at the same time, touching all kinds of areas of the code base. That's where I think it really becomes more valuable than any other time. Is automated testing an umbrella term for different types of testing? From me, yes. So, well, sort of. So there's different types of automated testing. You've got unit tests, you've got regression tests, you've got what is that one? I can't think of it. Maybe it's just regression tests. I don't know. But there's you can even have automated visual comparisons where it takes screenshots and compares the screenshots to see if there's any differences between them. So there's lots of different types of automated testing. So I kind of tend to lump them all together. But so yeah, it's kind of for me it's an umbrella term. Automated is an umbrella for anything that happens without direct intervention by the user, right? End-to-end tests, yeah, absolutely. So that's when I say automated test, it's going to be anything that is automated from a testing standpoint. So, and that could include a lot of things. Ming, so yeah, and depending on your philosophy of testing, like you could have a lot of tests or you could have just a few tests, right? So, and that's going to make a difference on your pipeline as well. That'll make a difference as to how long your CI/CD process takes. We had a project that we have tons and tons of tests that run on it, and it was taking an hour to run the CI/CD process, and over an hour. And so one of our developers, kind of broke it down, tried to figure out where the issues were happening, and found a solution for it. And now they run in just a couple minutes. So, they're just because you know how to build a pipeline doesn't mean that your CI/CD process is good, right? So it could be you have a bad process for how you're writing your tests or how you're running the tests, right? So there's a lot that goes into setting up a CI/CD process, and I don't think expecting a junior dev to know how to do all that, it makes sense for their role. It's great if they do, but I don't think it makes sense for most junior dev roles. They asked about automated testing for CI/CD. Is that essentially end-to-end testing? Dan's got an answer. It means that the tests run when you are deploying, and whether they pass or fail determines if deployment finishes successfully or not. Absolutely. Yep. And if they fail, typically it'll cut off. Your deployment would be the last step of that. There might even be another validation step after deployment, depending on your CI/CD process as well. But yeah, Dan's answering the questions well. I'll say them here and take the credit for it. No, Dan says end-to-end just means that the tests that run touch the full product from back end to front end. So it's like going from clicking the button all the way through the API endpoint to do the update in the database, and then any response that comes back, validating that whole cycle, right? So whereas a lot like unit tests are going to be more around the actual functionality of a function. API testing is going to be around just the API response. Is it giving the right response based on the request or the data that was pushed in to that request? And then again, like the visual one, I think it's regression testing. I don't know. There's lots of different ways of testing things, front end and back end, and you can run them all separately. You can run them all end to end, depending on how you set it up. You can get very detailed in your testing. In my opinion, most projects don't need extremely detailed testing, but especially if you've got something where you've got, again, lots of developers, more than a couple developers on a project, you probably want to be a little bit more verbose with your testing, just because you have more hands. That's kind of my philosophy is more hands means more tests, because there's a higher probability of somebody messing with something that needs to be caught if it doesn't work correctly. So yeah, maybe we'll talk about testing some more tomorrow. I don't know, but it is 4:30, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. Thanks for jumping in, guys, and Ming and Dan and Celestino. Good to see you all. Feel free to join me again here tomorrow. If you do have questions, obviously you can jump in the Discord server, or you can just leave questions on this video if you're watching it later. I read all of the comments. Try to read as much of the chat as I can. Sometimes it gets too busy, but I do read all the comments, and I try to respond whenever I feel like I can or I should. And so leave a comment below if you have a question. I'll look at that, and we can maybe throw it on the next day, or an upcoming weekend or weekday roundup or recap, or whatever we're going to call it. That's something. Put it in the chat, in not the chat. Put it in the comments section if you have an idea for a name. Weekday. I like the weekday idea because it is a weekday thing. Roundup, maybe not. Maybe recap, or I don't know, something. Let me know your thoughts on that. Leave that in the comments section. But again, we're going to be doing this every day, most days, as long as I'm working, most days from 4 to 4:30. So I saw a couple more people pop on. Sorry about that, but we're getting ready to jump off. But leave your ideas for the naming convention of this series in the comment section, and we'll tackle maybe some more things about CI/CD stuff tomorrow. Dan's being super helpful, so I'll let him keep chatting away to Ming, and I'm gonna go. So thanks for jumping on, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Thanks for jumping in here and being a participant in our conversation, both with me and with each other. So that's what this is here for, and we'll see you here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central United States time. Have a good one.